Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, agentic AI in the federal government. It's Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you will hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's dive into the day's top headlines. President Donald Trump's fiscal 2026 budget proposal would slash $491 million from the budget of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, according to a summary released last Friday. That would amount to a nearly 17% reduction to the agency's approximately $3 billion budget. The administration did not release a detailed itemization of the cuts, only an outline. A summary of the cuts explains that, quote, the budget refocuses CISA on its core mission, federal network defense, and enhancing the security and resilience of critical infrastructure, while eliminating weaponization and waste. In broad strokes, if approved by Congress, the budget would target for reduction what it identified as, quote, so-called disinformation and misinformation programs in offices, duplicative programs of other programs at the state and federal level, external engagement offices such as international affairs, and consolidate redundant security advisors and programs. Neither CISA nor the Office of Management and Budget immediately answered questions about what specific programs or offices would face elimination or reduction. The budget summary says that CISA programs were a hub of, quote, the censorship industrial complex to violate the First Amendment, target Americans for protected speech, and target the president, and that the budget eliminates programs focused on so-called misinformation and propaganda. In other news, a startup founder and Department of Government Efficiency associate named Sam Corcos is the new Chief Information Officer of the Treasury Department, according to a person within the agency. According to that person, Corcos was introduced with that title at a recent meeting for Treasury Bureau Chief Information Officers. Corcos, who most recently helped create a health company called Levels, had been representing DOGE in the Treasury Department with the official title of Special Advisor. Corcos, who has appeared on Fox News with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, has said his top priority is looking at the operations and maintenance budget, as well as modernization of the IRS. He's also sought access to government data and, according to Wired, was involved in an effort to organize an IRS hackathon. A source familiar with the initiative told FedScoop that the event was focused on the implementation of a unified API infrastructure. Corcos' appointment comes as many longtime technology leaders have departed the Treasury Department. Tony Arcady left the role of CIO earlier this year. And last week, FedScoop reported that Jeff King, who was appointed to replace him, would also be leaving, along with Brian Peretti, the agency's Chief Technology Officer, and Rick Therian, its Chief Information Security Officer. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.